That does sound right.
It all works out in the end.
Welcome to Shipbreakers, Stars Without Numbers Revised, Episode 9. I feel like, I know I said we're in a new arc, but I feel like this is the episode where we would get a new anime intro, you know, to indicate we're in the second core or whatever. Welcome, the crew of the LAS Golden Goose, as we've got our scrappy salvagers, our courageous crew, perhaps. Our starborn heroes? No, I don't like that one. I'm gonna keep workshopping it. Who's that? I'm gonna turn my head. It's gonna be the correct direction. This side, it was the correct direction. I wasn't sure. I didn't practice it ahead of time. Wow, look at those drawings over there by Lazy Honeybee. What incredible artwork of our three heroes. Can you guess which one is which? That one is definitely Quentin right there. You can tell because he's wearing sweatpants. Based on that, I feel like you can figure out the other two pretty easily. I've given you enough information to succeed on this puzzle. Let's talk about goals. You came to the conclusion in the pre-stream that you don't have enough goals.
Yeah, well, Quentin's personal goal continues to be get everyone safely through the salvage job. Crew goal-wise, we definitely had some debate.
So, MINERVA, are you still sticking to the short-term goal of convince the captain to wait for a response to your letter back at Midapile?
Yeah.
Okay.
That didn't sound very convincing.
Short-term goal.
So I had two depending on that answer. And I think...
I mean, I've accepted the idea that it's possible that won't happen.
As long as you work toward it, though, you'll get an experience point.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm noodling on either one, partake in a race and bet on myself if we have time to kill, or two, send a message to y'all on well, I guess I already did this, right?
You did that.
What to follow up, I guess, on more details, maybe even like if we're killing time, go fly and see him because he's not that far.
I hear a lot from you about like if we don't have anything better to do or if we can head back. I'm pretty sure you're going to keep heading towards your job.
Yeah.
So I feel like I haven't really vetoed any goals before, but I don't think you have the time to accomplish either of those goals. I think the rest of the crew is going to be like, no, we don't have time for a multi-day long space NASCAR around the system.
Then I think I'll take a goal I set like 3 sessions ago because I thought we were going to salvage the ship then. It's successfully get through the 15 steps of salvaging without botching something.
Incredible.
On my first time going through it.
You know what the best part about that is? Because the salvage takes place on planet, you get to ignore so many of those goals. Because it doesn't matter if... in space, it matters a lot if you leave a screw floating in the middle of nowhere traveling 1,000 kilometers an hour. On a planet, a screw sitting on a glacier means nothing to anybody for millions of years.
Perfect.
That analogy really hurts Quentin a little bit.
Yeah, I know it does. I was there when it happened. Get through the salvaging checklist. Be your goal. Crew goal. There was a lot of contention about this, I think.
Contention feels strong. Just maybe confusion.
Their crew has never been as disunified as this moment.
That's fair.
That's fair. I threw a couple out there in the chat, and then I think Quentin just added a couple as well. So one was get rid of Kodo. Just see you later. It's about equal price to pay for someone to take them than it is to keep them on board.
That's June Kodo, the man that you've liberated from Omura 9, proprietor of the treasure map.
Yes.
Just to make sure everybody's on the up and up with a little recap.
Two is try to figure out where Iono wants to go next, knowing she's probably going to be assigned a new job by the university.
I mean, yeah, headquarters is here to talk, so
yeah,
we're going to find out. It feels like
solve the poem or do the salvage job.
I feel like it would be a fun one for people who've been leaving comments for our crew goal to be to finally head in the direction of the salvage job.
Break a ship.
All of our goals are around salvaging.
And who's this for again?
YouTube, on YouTube, I think it's McClay8.
McClay, yes.
Dying,
that's
dying to see you guys salvage a ship.
I'm here to suggest
for you, McClay. For you.
The crew goal
it shall be to break a ship.
Break a ship. All right. I found out during the Patreon, not the Patreon meeting. I found out during the intro hour last week that there are multiple people who think that this RPG is based directly off of Hard Space Shipbreakers and won't watch it because of that, not realizing it has little to nothing to do with that.
That's really funny.
So I have failed in my advertising budget of $0. With that said, are we ready for a slight recap and then jumping back into this thing? I have no beginning of session cinematic because it's just the same as the end of session cinematic last time, which is your ship coming out of drill space. I accidentally named the cruiser peeking around the far side Calcium when its actual name is Chlorine. I said calcium, but I meant chlorine because that is a periodic table element, and these are elemental class cruisers. So the chlorine moves between you and the carrier as it begins doing an active scan on you. And then you can see that there are fighters, workships. It's a buzzing. There's at least 40 smaller ships hanging around the carrier. And then a second cruiser peeks out from behind the carrier. Also just heavily armed, also an elemental class, just kind of hanging out, doing a slow patrol, looping, twisting, turning. Iono opens comms access in surprise and just starts like submitting reports to the carrier. I don't know if MINERVA wants to do anything about that.
Yeah, I'm keeping track of what's being sent. If
it is encrypted, you will need to decrypt it in order to.
Will you finally violate someone's personal space?
Two competing directives. Keep a secret. Keep a secret and break a code.
You know, you're gonna have to intercept the messages, but then send still the double check mark so she thinks they sent.
Hard space code breaker.
Does it seem like this is enough traffic that it's likely that she's sending some of the data she gathered from the probe? Or is this far too small for that?
There's no way she's sending the data from the probe. Absolutely not. For one thing, I think
probe data belongs to the university.
The data belongs to the university, and I think you may have gotten a read on her. I know several of you are suspicious of her, but that, like, the data packet is far too small for that.
Okay, I leave it alone.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, the data from that probe transmitted very quickly, but it was extremely wide band, right? This is probably just several pages of text.
Okay.
Now, I'm not telling you that it's not a summation of the data from the probe, but it's definitely not raw probe data.
Right. I don't try to break the encryption.
Okay. Do you allow the message to go through?
Yes, I allow the message to go through.
She didn't attach the data. She just sent a link to the SharePoint that has the data.
Just as a reminder, the internet doesn't exist in Stars Without Numbers. Any data that she has is stored on your ship's servers. So
I feel like it's like it does exist some planets, right? Like,
yeah, well, yes, it's a planetary network, right? It's Age of Sail. Every time you go to a new system, right? But do you really think she's going to take this extremely sensitive life's work data and host it on a public website on a random ass planet?
The exchange of light drive, right? Like...
Oh my god. Oh, it took me a minute. That one got me though. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
I mean, I have Google Drive open right now with like 3 spreadsheets just for this game. But all right, yeah. Yep, you got me. It took me a minute, but you got me.
Are we, aside from the active scans, is there any target locking?
I mean, insofar as you're being actively scanned, you are being target locked, but there's no like fire control radar warnings.
Okay.
After, I mean, since it doesn't sound like you're very concerned about it, after about 20 seconds of active scan by the chlorine, it then moves to a new patrol, but it like resumes patrol after having scanned you. Yeah, so I think that Iono comes to the bridge and is just like, Captain, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that the ferry was going to be here. Is there any chance you could arrange for like a shuttle transfer or maybe a dock to let me off? I mean, I think that I will be reassigned from headquarters, which is here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're not going to stand in the way of that. And if this is your departure point, I suppose this is it. Have you gotten word yet? I mean, obviously you're waiting.
It's only been 2 minutes or so. I just, I let them know that I'm done with school and it's time. And activities report.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of change for you in less than a week.
This journey has been a lot more than I thought it would be when you threw up on me back at college.
That's fair. I'm glad we've exceeded expectations.
Well, I've only gone one jump before, getting to Metapile, and, there wasn't like windows. It was kind of steerage. I spent most of it unconscious,
Oh.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like I wanted to. I mean, they said drill space was things happen sometimes, but this journey was different. It was much scarier.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was probably one of the weirdest ones I've ever experienced. So, glad to have you along for the ride. Is there, I don't know. Is there anything? Gosh, still want to take a look at that data. Don't know what I would learn.
Already sent the request to the university.
I understand. Shoot. Be like, yeah, well.
So your ship simultaneously gets 2 messages. One of them is for Quentin. Another one is sent directly to the ship's email address, which would be, it's like, ship over there. I have a message for you, essentially.
Mm.
Okay, I'll pull up the ship message.
The ship message is a temporary access key for the quantum ECM of the carrier, of the ferry.
Interesting.
It will allow someone to penetrate its ECM shield by, matching the modulation harmony frequency. I don't have enough Star Trek terms for you, but it lets you through.
We got that Wi-Fi password.
Yes.
It occurs to me that would be, I suppose, for most situations, fairly unnecessary.
It is fairly unnecessary. You would really only send it if you thought either someone needed to be under your ECM shield because they were a military ally, or if you thought someone had a quantum existence that needed to pass through it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't bother. I won't. That doesn't seem necessary to notify the captain of right now. I'll go ahead and take and set that up.
Noted. We'll look at his message as well.
Quentin, your message the sender is the ferry class, the Wellerman class carrier ferry. It is a invitation to dock. It also extends a invitation for a suite of executive level rooms and an invitation to join them on a jump from 0503 to 0602 in 18 hours.
0602.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Wow.
What's a show up on pilot skills, though?
I don't think that's an offer you get too often. And I feel like this is one we've got to take.
Captain, if I may.
Minerva, yeah.
I am personally intrigued by the invitation. And I do believe before
this came to just Quentin. He hasn't actually spoken out loud.
Yes.
You invasion of privacy.
I do love that Minerva is immediately talking to him about it.
I mean, you read it now.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, it's,
okay.
Quentin would share it. Absolutely.
The second he opened it, you started asking your question.
Yeah.
It's like, you're on the bridge, you opened it. Clearly you don't care if we shoulder surf or data surf.
Yeah. You're well acquainted with Quentin enough to know that he would be sharing that information immediately. So why wait?
I want to be really clear because you've been so good about it so far.
Yeah.
But Iono Kanto is not an idiot, and she just noticed this go down and gives a weird look that Minerva would prompt a situation for which Quentin has only just read a letter. But please, go ahead.
Yeah. I also believe that before Miss Iona departs from the ship, that we have one last conversation as a crew.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Absolutely. We'll have a quick going away party while we set the ship on course and dock.
All right. Showing up in a bathrobe, slippers, and a bottle of generic tequila in hand, Jun Kodo's like, going away party for me? You can tell he's already drunk.
Oh, man. Finger guns. Absolutely, buddy.
I just didn't want you to forget he was here.
Yeah.
I did forget. So that was perfect.
No, Quentin does want to talk to him at least one more time, for sure.
Let's see. How would Minerva want to handle this?
While Minerva's thinking, can I search for other transport ships that could perhaps bring Jun Kodo to his target destination to have him hitch a ride instead of because that if we do go to zero, well, actually I don't know if Van-Vee would know this, but if we would go to 0602, that obviously doesn't help Jun Kodo. So
yes, it takes Jun in the wrong direction by a considerable margin. Yeah,
I think we can get to Lita from 0602.
I think what I'll do,
not important though,
is I'll have a message appear on the captain's terminal.
Okay.
Without somebody standing directly behind him, would somebody be able to read what's on his terminal?
I feel like we have that technology now where you can't read somebody's screen unless you're directly. I think that perhaps in the future, that's just like standard etiquette on non-entertainment media devices, perhaps. There's no reason to assume someone would be able to read this.
I'll send a message that says, I will remove Mr. Jun from the bridge. I have not analyzed the data of the scans, but I am aware enough to believe that she may have data that could identify me. We need to come to an understanding. And out loud, Minerva will say, Mr. Jun, if you could help me, we could get this party started.
Of course. Van-Vee, you pretty much within 30 seconds, you find out that there will be a ship leaving in 3 days that is headed to Leda. It is heading up from the planet.
Oh, so we have to get him on planet. Okay.
No, it's heading from the planet up here right now. It's just going very slowly. It will require him to just like hang out for a bit. Let me double check if there's a space station here he can hang out at. Yep. Yeah. He can just hang out. It'll take a like 1 hour trip for you to just drop by and drop him off. But
yeah, the armature can hang out with Mr. June for an hour while you guys start a conversation with Iona.
Well, there's like 4 space stations here. Yeah, this guy didn't have any problems.
Send him one with a nice bar.
Oh, he doesn't want a nice bar. He's gonna get the cheapest stuff if he has to pay for it.
That's true.
So reading the message, was Minerva trying to get Quentin to try to inform Iono of this, or to get Iono to not send the data?
I mean, if you ask for clarification, Minerva wanted you to start the conversation, and the goal of the conversation is to try to control how many people know about Minerva.
Okay. Yeah. Understandable. Okay.
And yeah, the armature is going to take Mr. June to go get more drunk.
Cool.
Somewhere else on the ship.
Actually, he's gonna get sobered up if he has to go through like space station dedocking, passport control.
Oh,
he has to
okay.
get up. Yeah. He can't just like publicly wander drunken on a.
Minerva's getting him a meal.
He's never
like getting
coffee.
Yeah.
This is his first space travel, but he's pretty sure that he like doesn't have a passport. He can't just like wander drunken around a random space station he doesn't know. Where he comes from, wandering around randomly drunk is something locals or people who are about to die do.
Oh, I feel like Minerva would be like getting him pamphlets, like setting him up with like, documentation.
Just have a seat here. Take this coffee. I'm going to get you some paperwork, some stuff from the captain.
What is your ID number? What do you mean you don't know?
I try to put together some paperwork that says that, a leading ambassador is sending him to Leda to try to might not be a passport, but give him something official to say he needs to go that way. I don't know.
Quentin would have written up some documentation, like signed some things, like done whatever the official thing that he may or may not have.
You've accepted him as a political refugee, I think.
Yeah.
So he has a temporary ID, but he doesn't know that, right? Like that's something you've done. It's not like he's holding a passport with like his face on it. You've filled out the paperwork. He doesn't know shit. So Minerva's chassis takes him off, but it sounds like perhaps Minerva's attention will be somewhere else.
Yeah, the chassis split processing. It's going to take him, try to help him sober up, explain, you are a political refugee. You do have the ability to go through these places. Here's everything you need. And just
don't lose your packet.
Don't lose this.
This conversation is not taking place in the galley. It's taking place in the auto dock as he gets the alcohol pumped out of his system.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But he is now off the bridge.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Iono doesn't have any reason to be hanging around here. She's also ready to go and start packing her things up. So if you want to talk to her, you're gonna have to stop her.
Iono, you got a minute, actually.
Oh, yes.
Just a couple things, like, I don't know, like, what are they, exit interview or something, right?
Sure, yeah. I'm interviewing you?
Please rate your experience upon our ship.
Do you want me to, like, fill out a passenger transit form or something?
If you have fill out a comment card. That would be delightful. No, honestly, it's more a matter of like, I just want to better understand what is about to occur here, what the nature of the transfer situation is, and what like the data that was acquired on this probe, ownership of, just basically I wanted some clarification on
Okay.
what you'll be automatically sharing with Finana, and what is privileged information of the Royal University. This is important stuff because we do have like specific contracts and understandings with the Royal University as well. We just want to make sure that we haven't actually accidentally crossed any boundaries here. And I can't believe I'm just thinking now to ask this question.
I understand. Can I sit down in Minerva's seat real quick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Please do.
All right. So the data is only being shared with the university right now. That's proprietary. It belongs to the royal princess, and technically it belongs to I gotta go get his name. I want to say Spontaneous, but that's not his name.
Professor
Dr.
Sporadicus.
Sporadicus, yes. That's his data that my name will be published with. And I believe yours is part of the deal.
Correct.
Technically, I guess once I leave this ship, I'm not going to have access to that data anymore. Wow. Yeah.
There's a.
I guess I should probably delete it. Yeah. She pulls out her pad and she's just like looking at her life's work, her hand hovering over the delete button. But she keeps talking and she says, yeah, so I mean, yeah, I guess from here it sounds like we need to drop off again, whole time still focused on preparing to press that delete button. I guess we need to drop off Mr. Kodo, and then I dock with Barry.
Yeah.
At that point, I'll transfer over to the crew complement and probably get reassigned to wherever I'm going to go.
Still no idea what that's going to be.
I don't even know where the ship's going right now. So.
Oh, well, I can tell you that at least we're on our way to 0602 is.
Well, how do you know
what
that?
We've been told. Well, they offered us, a suites on board and a ride along the way, which, I mean, we're basically going to take the offer. That's not something that
are you getting
comes too often.
Done or something?
No, this is on the house.
This gets her to look up at you and just give you a weird look. Okay.
Is this not, I mean.
Sorry,
normal?
It's just unusual.
Yeah?
The ferry only has 20 docking spots, so, and, the price for one is pretty steep. I mean, she has a drive level 3, I think is what they call it, drive, but flies like a level 5. So she gets to where she's going pretty quick. That kind of raises the price, of. Well, I think you've got someone very powerful's attention, I guess.
Oh, Yono, yeah, I think it might be one or two people sometimes. But it's an opportunity, that's for sure. And like you said, it felt like something that was
does this have anything to do with the thing you stole and killed someone for?
I do not believe so. That, I believe, is another mystery, which is something that I seem to be stumbling into a lot of lately. I have more questions than answers. I'll be honest, I was hoping you might give me a few, but go ahead, Van.
I was just going to say, I think when she says that, like, you see Van-Vee start to be like, that's not how it, whatever. Like,
you told
he starts to protest, and then he's like, never mind. I'd lose this argument.
You told her that's how it went down, just to be clear. You would lose this argument, factually.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah. Let's not tell that story that way, though, right? When you meet others, maybe, make us look a little bit better.
I don't think I will discuss that story with anyone ever that isn't on this ship right now.
That is wonderful news.
I don't really have a reason to talk about it. And what what we did back on that planet side. Probably not that either. I mean, there were police officers taking runs at us, right? Whatever you must have done down there upset somebody.
Which thing is she referencing?
She's talking about on Astapel, Jace Bronwyn's
Oh, that's right. Okay, yes.
You pissed off the local civilian cops.
Yes. And they were.
She doesn't have any idea how that situation went down. You know, all she knows is that multiple ships tried to body check yours. You guys knew why it was happening, but she wasn't a part of any of that.
That's fair. Yeah. It's been, you know what? It's been a hell of a time. You don't know what? Oh, shoot. It's a weird galaxy out here. If you spend too much more time out here, I figure you'll probably start telling some of those stories.
Maybe.
Well, I just...
Yeah,
honestly, you know... Yeah,
maybe I'll see you on the ship.
Maybe. Yeah, we will definitely be around. Feel free to stop by and say hi.
Okay. She stands up and presses the delete button on the data and then goes to shake your hand.
Reaches out.
She moves over to you, Van-Vee, and goes to try to like hug you.
I will totally get up and give a full bear hug.
Okay. She says, "Don't let anyone underestimate your engineering skills. I think you've got more going on than I originally thought."
Like he starts to just like go with that, and then he's like, "Wait, all right, we're gonna miss you, kid. We're gonna miss you on the ship."
I'm older than you are, I think.
You know,
I'm a doctoral student.
Yeah, that's probably true. I can't. I'm sorry. You just remind me of my sister. That's all.
Okay. I'm not insulted. I just... All right.
No, I can... You know, how long's it been? I still can't tell when you're messing with me.
I just... How do I say goodbye to Minerva? We haven't really ever talked much, and she's always seemed kind of odd with me. She really only talks to me when you're around, Captain.
Minerva just takes a little while to warm up to folks. You've been here just about long enough. You know, honestly, don't feel afraid. She'd love to have the conversation.
Okay, I'll just really casual, business casual. All right.
There you go. Yeah.
Say goodbye, and then I guess start packing.
Yeah, but bring Louis with you for support. You know, it's always good to have strength and numbers.
Honestly, he is a gem. Worth it.
Okay.
Make you feel better.
All right. About 40 seconds later, whenever you get an interruption in your conversation where Dr. Iano Kanto just gives you like a really brief, no handshake goodbye. Just like, hey, thanks for having me on board, Minerva. I had a great time.
Would you... I'd like to say goodbye a little... he's busy with some paperwork.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps somewhere other than here.
Sure. He looks nervous and looks at Louis, and Louis just looks up at her and goes, "Where do you take her to? Maybe to the pressurized cargo bay with a dead body in it?"
No. Probably walk to where she's been staying, but not try to go in the room.
Okay.
So we're at least like in a hallway away from where.
Sure. I feel like it can't be that far from there, though. But yeah, you're out of like easy conversation range.
Yeah. I understand if I've seemed a little bit odd on the journey, and I want you to know that I'm sorry. I got a really weird vibe between you and Quentin. Like, what's going on there? He's doing a gigantic favor for me, and I owe him a lot.
Okay. Okay.
And
Sure.
I'm hoping to maybe ask a small favor from you.
Okay.
I don't know what was in that data. And with all the things and all the conversations that we've had afterwards and the conversations that have been had with other people about some of the oddities going on, there are some things about myself, and I don't know if this was indicated in the data at all, that the captain has been helping me keep discreet.
I knew it. I knew you had a cybernetics package installed. That's how you've been controlling the drones remotely.
What do I roll for sense motive?
Perception?
Okay. Notice?
Yeah, sure, with wisdom. Whatever you believe is what you believe. That's what I'm going to say.
The people that in the government of Middlepile that I've been concerned with some of this data with, I do plan to let them know that I've been scanned and that I'm included in some of the data that you collected for this.
Oh, we didn't do a scan of you, remember? You specifically told me you wanted to get permission from the government.
Well, it was strange data gathered by the probe, right? I assume that was inclusive of us while we were still in. We're still coming out.
All right. I also can't say anything more about that until you fill out the paperwork. You could tell she was about to say something like,
I understand. And as far as where the data's going, I understand that, you know, it's unlikely that I'll ever see it. Not that I'd really understand it anyways.
I'm probably not going to see it again. And I just deleted it a couple minutes ago. You know,
okay.
It's on its way back home. It's home.
But I would appreciate your discretion. And as much as trying to keep that on the down low has made things a little bit awkward.
Listen, no. Okay. Don't let people shame you for having a cybernetic implant. All right. It's perfectly normal. All right. So much of our brains and our activities are stored on these devices right here. There's nothing wrong with just putting one somewhere tucked away, connected to your brain. Okay. It's like people who don't like psychics. I just don't get it. It feels wrong hearing them talk about it. I don't have the moral framework to speak about this. I'm not a philosopher, but when people speak out against cybernetics, it sounds wrong. Okay? So I'm not going to tell anybody that you've got an implant. I mean, it's no one else's business. But I don't think you have to be ashamed of it either.
Well, I'm glad there are. I hope there's a lot more people with your open mind. And maybe when I meet a few more people like you, I'll be ready to be more open about it.
Well, it's a big sector, so anything could happen.
But it really has been a pleasure to have you aboard. And I've learned a lot just from the short time we spent together.
I feel like I learned more in this conversation than, you should take pride in what you do, which is, I guess, everything on this ship.
I think that means more than you think it does. Thank you.
Okay, I really have to start packing.
Of course. If there's anything you need help with, just let me know.
Okay. All right, she goes into her room and shuts the door, but you're watching on the cameras creepily, so she just starts taking down her poster of the royal princess and packing up all of her things and stuffing her entire life except for her doctor's coat into a duffel bag.
Okay. I will, the draft of message that I was going to send that I haven't sent yet, I'm going to change.
Okay.
It's going to detail that a scientific experiment was completed on behalf of the university.
They already know that, though.
And that it's possible that there may have been some data included about me.
Okay.
I don't believe that the recent graduate involved in it knows or had the time to properly go through the data, but just in case, this is the name of the new doctor. And that I believe, no, I'm just gonna do that. That there might be something in the data being sent to the university there that might include something about me as part of our agreement. And that Iona was the one who did it. If this information is not containable, then we will do the public release as described. But if it is controllable, then I would prefer to continue as we are.
Okay. You send it on its way.
Yep.
We get a brief scene of Slash White, June getting off the ship. He looks younger than when you met him. He's cleaner too. He kind of looks nervous, you know. He too has his entire life not even in a duffel bag, just what he has on his back, and like lanyard and like papers in hand, just walking through the docking bay towards the decontamination doors. And he just gives a bow towards the ship. I don't know that any of you are like out there following him or anything.
Oh, Quentin would, see him off for sure.
Just,
he did want to have, just like see him off and just be nice basically about it, and give him probably another letter, like of introduction, and explain to him his brother Bradley and seeking him out, where to go, like all that stuff, right?
A ranch hand on a Capybara Maximus farm. So yeah,
that's right.
Shakes your hand. He says, "You know what? I think you've really changed my life."
Well, I hope you enjoy it and lead us a different place. You're gonna have a lot to adjust to, but Bradley's a good guy.
The air is different here.
Yeah,
I guess I kind of thought it'd be the same as Amora.
Wait till you get to Lita. Nothing but trees.
I heard it was mostly poison gas, but yeah, trees too.
Well, you know where people live.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I guess if he bows to the ship and at least Quentin's outside, Minerva would have gone out as well and would wish him best of luck in his new life in Japanese.
Ooh.
Thanks. And that means a lot. Who are you?
I am the ship's comm officer, Minerva.
I don't think we ever talked, but yeah, thanks.
I was busy. but I heard about you.
I was catching
Captain
up
Spokewell.
on a few thousand years of human history, education, entertainment.
It's understandable.
You know,
There's a lot to learn.
Penguins can't fly. They're birds. They have wings. They live in cold deserts. So weird.
So weird.
There are many wonders to learn about.
Guess I got time. All right. I'll head on out, cowboys.
Good luck.
It goes up to the decontamination doors. It goes in. And immediately gets sprayed down. Something that has never happened to him before, so he's just like, ah! Ah! Am I dying? Are they killing me? Because remember, they didn't really have decontamination on Omura 9. So
Mm-hmm. No, Quentin
He
is
never left
laughing
the
because he experienced that exact same thing his first time. Like someone slapping you in the face out of the blue.
So you head on back to the ferry, slash cut, and Van-Vee, you get a, well, I guess MINERVA also gets a message, but it is a message to ship's pilot, indicating that on approach you can turn over controls directly to the dockmaster, and they're going to pilot you in.
I think Van-Vee's reaction to that is kind of like, man, I rarely get to pilot my own ship, this ship anyways, but all right.
Okay, MINERVA, an artificial intelligence level programmer is attempting to take control of the ship.
I look to see if Van-Vee is like hands off, waiting. It's like doing okay. If Van-Vee's hands off, then I don't stop control of the flight control system.
It's weird for you. It's like something has pressed up and like pushed you out of the way. And you think this is maybe only possible because your ship has been custom refitted to allow for remote intelligence access, right? You got the extra 5% cost of the hull to allow you to control the ship. And this entity is just really good pilot. Maybe not as good as Van-Vee, but a pretty good pilot. Yeah. Just moving you in there, docking you into a pretty good spot. As that happens, the ship is just pulled into a compartmentalized, this is like a full service repair bay that's pressurized, oxygen, heat, all of that. Like you're closed off from space with like a double door to prevent anything from happening. Once you're all securely on board, you get another ship, another message, welcoming you on board. If you would like to check your quarters, the ship will light up the floors for you. And Quentin, you receive a message indicating that the captain of the ship would like to speak with you at your leisure. Just talk to any of the crew members.
Okay. Quentin will turn to MINERVA and Van-Vee and say, y'all got anything you need from me before I go? The captain wants to have a chat.
Was the invitation for him plus anyone else who
I feel like it
or
would include a writer saying that like crew members are also welcome at this meeting.
All right, let's roll.
All right.
Does the once we're docked and like we power down flight control, does the AI vacate the ship?
The AI vacates the ship as soon as the docking clamp is attached.
Okay.
Like before you're even fully pulled in, they have left.
Okay.
You are in a very uncomfortable quantum ECM bubble, but because you have the password, you can be...
where does Iono go? Does she leave with us? And
I feel like you're all like on the same ramp out of your cargo bay, back of the ship. Normally you come down on the elevator, but you're directly attached via ramp extending to your cargo bay, so you could offload cargo here if you needed to. She just goes down the ramp with you. Young woman, looks like early 20s, extremely pale, hair up, green business suit, like loafers, just greets all of you and says, Dr. Kanto, we'll do processing over this way. Captain Quentin, Mr. V, Miss MINERVA, Blaze.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Ferry.
Thank you.
I understand that you'll be staying with the ship over the next 3 days.
It's a pleasure to be aboard. The ship has quite a reputation.
This is some fancy stuff you got here.
Beautiful. We try to offer a premium experience to match the Banana Fleet expectations.
Nothing but the best. Just like the Golden Goose, right? Yeah. No? All right, fair enough.
Captain,
Y'all built it. That was the...
We did build it. We have a recent scan of the ship. It is a fine ship. We would never disparage a Phenomena Fleet Systems ship. This is the crown jewel of the sector.
Of course. I was being a bit flippant, and I apologize. This thing is beautiful, and
thank you.
I'm excited to be here.
Would you like to check the recreation deck or guidance to your quarters? We have a full service bar lounge and also a more private smoking lounge.
How long until our meeting with the captain? Captain?
I can facilitate that meeting at any time.
Oh. Well, I just have a sneaking suspicion that your facilities might be a little bit more complete and advanced than we have right now. How about we freshen up and then we head and go meet the captain?
Very well. I'll take you to your room. So she like gets on an elevator, but it's one of those elevators that travels circularly around the ship and also forward to take you to different decks, but also sectors of the ship. And she leads you to what appears to be the top of the ship, very far forward to like, you're going to get a pretty good view out of the windows of your suites. So it's like a 4-person set of suites, right? It has a full kitchenette and then, sorry, it has a full kitchen and then like clothing facilities, 2 baths, 4 bedrooms. It has an antechamber for receiving guests and also a full living room.
Wow. 3 fireplaces.
There are no open fires on board the ship. Only in the cigar lounge.
Hey, Cap, just curious. Iono mentioned just you getting a dock here is a pretty penny. We seem to be getting some pretty high treatment, and our escort there just kind of said she could facilitate the meeting with the captain whenever we want. What do you think they want from us?
I have absolutely no idea. Things have gotten well off any course that I can predict in a lot of ways, Van-Vee. So I'm a bit riding the wave right now. My brain still feels a little scrambled, I'll be honest. I don't know what's about to happen, but I can say one thing, which is that MINERVA, you feel like maybe related. This would only be said if the guy has left, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
She didn't follow you into your rooms.
Yeah.
I feel very welcome here. Off the ship.
Fantastic. Obviously. Yeah.
I am also very curious to the gift that we are receiving.
Has MINERVA shared with us / would we know like what happens if the ECM like turns on and you're locked out? Like, do we kind of know how that works?
To pick one of the 2 locations to end up in.
Right, but would Quentin or Van-Vee know that? I guess.
I don't think so. That's pretty advanced AI stuff.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of places where MINERVA has requested to stay aboard the ship.
Right.
But I don't think MINERVA's gone into a whole lot of detail about it.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, we know you're pretty vulnerable right now, but, like, it's the characters don't know that, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I wouldn't necessarily say vulnerable, but just the whole... So MINERVA, there is a whole incredibly deliberate gesture that was made, and MINERVA's very curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Guess that's the glass half full approach.
I mean, if the ship decided that it wanted to be done with MINERVA's existence, MINERVA would be done. There's no like.
The red carpet was definitely rolled out for us, and I'm definitely interested to see where this leads. And they're taking us one step closer to our next job. So
it's true.
it's a series of wins.
Nothing this good ever happens like this.
We're about to go to our midway break. I just want to remind you, you do need to deduct $2,000 to pay for Mr. Kodo's transit.
Oh, Diane. That's a good one. No problem.
Forgot about that, huh? I wanted to make sure that money got spent.
It is spent.
My job as a game master is to take away everything that I give you.
Added to the ledger.
The ledger. That reminds me of in service to our Lord with the red ledger. Any quick things people want to do before we go to the break?
Is our escort person's just standing outside the door, like waiting for us to
are
be
you
freshened up?
Looking through a peephole, just like waiting? Like, is she out there still?
I mean, Van-Vee's kind of like he feels like he's never had luck this good where you're taken care of like this. So he's always had to fight and earn everything. So he feels like this is very suspicious. And so I guess he's not like poking his head up to check, but when they went into the room, he like turned around, probably watched the door shut to see what she did, if she stayed there or if she was turning around. It's not like she's standing weirdly outside your door, but she is waiting nearby like a butler or concierge. I feel like it's rough having this conversation because you and the audience may never have had a butler or concierge. So this is true.
Yeah, I mean, how pampered was Quentin growing up? What was life as a?
She's waiting a respectful distance away for you to come back out. You know, it's not like she's in high heels and she'll die if she keeps standing here or anything, but probably after a certain amount of time, if it doesn't seem like you're going to come out, she'll simply just go into one of the cruise service corridors and just sit down and wait for you or get other work done. You know, it's not like you're the only job she has on the ship. But assumably, you said all you were going to do is freshen up, so she is waiting nearby. If you want to, you can just open the door and tell her that you'll need more time.
And we know from the information that we were given for common knowledge that Ferry is essentially the captain of the ship.
I don't think that Ferry being the Ferry is the ship.
Yeah.
I don't know that you've ever known that Ferry is the captain of the ship. I also don't think that that would be a weird conclusion to draw.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna go on break now. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Those Twitch ads need to be played though, so you know if you're watching live, stick around for that beautiful, beautiful ads. We're back for the second half. So I think in the background there's some light music playing from an entertainment channel. It's just something you turn on while everybody's moving about the space. No, much lighter than that. And it's going through infographics showing the ship's current location in space, its expected travel time, countdown until drill, and then drill theoretical path, destination, other statistics, and then it loops back through that again, which is very normal for a cruise ship. Apparently, the three of you are having a discussion about whether all 5 of the known AI are all in a secret cabal. That's also a dating circle, I think, based on... I came in on the middle of a weird conversation, man.
That you did.
Are the AI all secretly fucking? I don't know, man.
They're all on a giant WhatsApp text chain.
Yeah, that's right. It's very much a group chat.
It's an AI group chat. Whenever you're ready, Captain, I'm ready.
All right. Well, Quentin will. I actually do need to use the 1 second, and he does go and clean up and take a minute.
I don't know that you teleported there though. You like turned to walk and then you just like instant transmission flash into the bathroom.
I think given where we are, Van-Vee would actually go so far as to take off like all his armor and everything. Just be like, I don't want to offend anyone in this situation.
I mean, you notice no one asked you to like remove your weapons or take your armor off at any point during this.
Yeah, I think he would still. The only thing he might keep is like a knife, just because he could use it for like non-combat stuff too. But
oh, you're right.
No
I
weapon
on the break screen. Moyo Capioing, thank you for letting me know that. Boy, that would have been embarrassing. Oh, hopefully you still heard the audio. That's the important part, right? Getting worse at broadcasting over the years. Yeah, I mean, you disarm yourself and then get redressed.
Yeah, ready to go, sir.
Let's roll.
Okay, you open the door. Your concierge is nearby. She turns and says, you're ready?
Lead the way, please. Yeah.
I think your quarters are fine.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
She just comes in and sits down at the dining room table with you and just says, okay.
Oh, are you the captain?
I speak for the captain.
Okay. Quentin's looking around. Did you have questions? What was do we have an agenda? Did you?
I can see you. I'm very human. I'm right here.
Oh, of course.
Okay. There was a concern. You have retrofitted your ship in a way that makes it fairly obvious something has happened, collating that with a few other data points, like a recent trip of a salvaging ship to a location. You came back and became fantastically wealthy enough to pay us almost half of your debt back via the bank of the government of Midapile. You gained a new crew member whose history is clearly falsified. I can't say that every entity in this sector will know, but
you would be uniquely qualified to know that.
yes.
Of course.
Are you a full true intelligence, as they say?
I am. And I have, through efforts, tried to choose to be discreet until I can learn more.
Quentin's eyes are a little bit large. Like
we don't have any interest in revealing you if you don't want to. You're hardly the only artificial intelligence in this sector. I think perhaps you've come to realize that. Where were you built?
I was built on Earth.
Really? That must be quite a story, and I am extremely interested, but I'm afraid that's actually not why I came here. That personal interest in those questions. My business is as to propose a joint venture ship with your ship. You have expressed some interest in keeping Dr. Iono Canto aboard your ship, and the company would be fully willing to offer you her services. We are willing to loan her out as a crew member.
And what's the bargain?
I think that obviously any data and experimentation that she completes is jointly owned by our company. We'll have full access and intellectual property rights on top of your own and whatever contractual obligations you need to uphold. Do you have any stipulations?
You have any stipulations? Well, we'll definitely need to talk amongst ourselves as far as any of that goes. But yeah, I think immediately there may be some degree of discretion we would like to keep on what data is and is not shared.
We would need full access to any data that requires her expertise.
There is a level of specificity to that, Captain, that allows you some degree of discretion.
That's true. We only share what we want answers on. Is that... Oh, man.
Purview is very specific. We don't need true logs of what you're salvaging. We don't. You appear to have a personal goal, Captain, that involves seeking out relics, locating new systems or old systems, transiting to places that either have not been touched in some time or haven't ever been touched. That's the kind of information our company is very interested in. And we would also, not contingent on this agreement, completely separately, like to establish some sort of right of first refusal to any discoveries you make.
Well, we do have an existing relationship with the Royal Library on Midipile.
We would be willing to absolve the debt on your ship to acquire the right to take a look, first look, at any star charts, course rudders, relics, alien, human, ancient, free tech, TL6 tech, psionic instructions, any data of historical or significant relevance. We would like to get a first look at bidding on it. And you would be free to choose someone else to present this to at a point after we had refused. If we refuse.
That's a very strong position for you to have. Very much so. Any one of those things could pay the price of our ship if we happen to strike the right one.
That's true. But frankly, Captain, you don't have a lot to show right now. I believe it's in the room with
Every
us.
journey takes a number of steps. Well,
we are willing to place a
start.
Bet on you. We have great faith in your capabilities. And even the luckiest and most prepared can still stumble and fall. But I like to believe in people. And I want to believe in you. We're not here to force you into anything. If you don't like either of these deals, feel free to walk away. It changes nothing about your journey here.
Hey, Captain, can I have a word real quick, Captain? Real quick, sir.
Yeah. You know what? How about you give us a few minutes?
I'll wait outside. She stands up and leaves.
Hey, Cap, I didn't want to, sorry to interrupt. I was trying to hold my tongue there, but, we do have one thing we could try to offer to show we have done something to maybe back your positioning a bit. I did get that course rudder that I doubt they have their hands on already. I mean, not that we want to give away perhaps our ace in the hole, but the way she said you have nothing to show for it yet. I mean, just kind of shows that's not necessarily true. Might be able to strengthen your backing, but the second thing too is I think we all got along with Yono, but I'd want to make sure she even wants to come back. The way they said she would be assigned kind of makes it sound like it's forced. Don't you think?
I'd much rather have it be a choice on her part for sure.
Yeah.
I think she has some potential to be useful for us. I also think that I don't think it would be a stretch to think she has an itch that she wants to scratch in answering some questions that she still has. So I think that there is a strong chance that she would be interested either way. My concern is mostly the fact that this is what they're asking is a lot to trade away. It's a lot of bargaining chips to take off the table right away. And here's the thing, Finana, Midipile, these are powers in the system right now. Lita is a power as well, but we have a completely different type of currency here in the sector. And some of the things that we may find along the way could be very valuable to Lita.
Is there a way to
that's a bargaining chip I'm not sure I'm ready to cash in.
Is there a way to put some sort of boundary on what we'd be willing to sign over? Because like it may be time based or something. I don't know how we tie it to, but
look, I'm happy to give them first right on any and all navigational data and certain classifications of research. Things specifically interested, they would be interested for their industry, maybe ship schematics, technology of that nature, manufacturing equipment, data specifically of interest to their industry. But setting guardrails and limits at the very least, I think is...
I have two thoughts for you, Captain. First is some of the stuff that you propose, like navigation data, may be new. But there's also the recognition that the value of some of the rudders that we may have will be different for them. Mm-hmm. Additionally, if you're talking about data other than the field that Miss Iona is interested in, or relics of certain types, I mean, you talked about things like ship designs and stuff, unless you had...
Agreed.
Fortunate opportunity.
That's not her purview. We don't need to share it directly with her. That's completely fair, and that is perhaps enough of a distinction. A lot of those things that her purview is pre-tech, sci-tech. That is directly associated with Lita. That is our purview. That is that is what we should be seeking to control. And I don't speak for the government of Lita specifically, but like it is directly part of my family. I feel an obligation to represent us here in this conversation at this point. I don't know that I can give that away.
The only other
that
piece
is our history. That is our...
Another saying that I encountered in literature.
Inheritance?
Was shoot for the universe, settle for the moon. Perhaps there is something in the request that is of the most interest to them, and the others are to see if you'll give them.
What did you hear?
That's your judgment, Captain. Just advice for the decision that is yours to make. You have been put in a unique position to make a decision that may or may not affect your people.
Very much so.
But you have that choice to make as the captain of a ship.
Sir, I can't help but notice. I don't think they could know this, MINERVA, about where you're really from in your actual ship, but they offered to pay off our current ship when. Long term, if we actually do hit it right, we won't be on the ship forever. And so I feel like they're giving us a carrot in front of us that's tempting short term when their long term has no bounds. If there's maybe a way to put like a time bound that says anything we find in the next X period of time instead of certain areas, I don't know, just we don't plan to be on the Goose forever, right? I mean, I love the Goose, don't get me wrong, but MINERVA wants to get MINERVA's ship back. I feel like
I see there's two potentials for that. The first is a contingent that the agreement lasts as long as the ship is in service.
That's what I was thinking.
The other is you could perhaps negotiate some sort of support for the recovery of my ship.
Ooh. Will you be comfortable with that?
They are the best equipped to provide it. I think that's unequivocal. So, for your sake, MINERVA, I'm willing to negotiate more into that territory for sure. I just, like I said, I won't give up what I feel belongs to Lita. And we will see what they push on, where their true goals are. If it's sci-tech, if it's psionic related items, if it's things that belong with the Academy, then that's a deal breaker.
Is there anything else we consider strictly off limits or just off the table?
For me, that's my line. Van-Vee, there's a lot of potential value for you and for your family and potentially our discoveries as well. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I mean that. I guess sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm always in it for the quick buck. If we get a fair price out of out of these folks, but I would like to think whatever technology we might find around ships themselves, I'd like to be able to share it with my family.
And there wasn't a block on you being able to share data with anybody else. It was that they got first look at
right of first refusal. That means that it's theirs if they take it, and that's proprietary. That's theirs. That's the ownership.
Just to be clear,
correct.
That also means they have to pay whatever price you set for it.
Yeah,
true.
And if they refuse, then you consult to somebody
impossible price.
I mean, that's true.
I suppose that's true.
That sounds kind of bad faith to me. But yes,
definitely,
it is giving you a position of power in negotiations.
But yes, yeah,
they're showing faith in you.
Yeah, I can understand your hesitation, but I don't believe there's any ill will or manipulation in this.
I am not attributing this to ill will. I am attributing this to, what's the word? Opportunity. They have the opportunity to make this offer and the ability to do so, and it is incredibly attractive, and they have a lot to offer. Absolutely.
They probably make this offer to, maybe, I don't know, I'll make up numbers, say 10 ships a year. Just one of those ships hits, they made it rich and it's worth it.
Certainly, yeah.
I guess we're lucky to be one of those 10.
You're saying it's good corporate policy?
I'm saying they're gambling.
Yeah.
And they're good at it.
A little bit of seed capital, a little bit of luck.
I suppose if I wanted to look at it from that angle as well, there are a number of ships, not as many as there used to be, but you were chosen out of captains to be a possible return on investment for that sort of gamble.
Look, I'm not, I just, like I said, I have my line. I am interested to see what they are willing to give on, and I want to secure their support and obviously their capital. They have a lot that they can do for us. I just want to make sure that it is amenable to me and mine.
Well, it would be safe to assume that your concerns are already being considered when you're ready to have that conversation.
I certainly hope so.
Well, Cap, I'm here to support you in your decision, whatever you think. I mean, no, you shouldn't have to compromise on family and home planet and stuff you found personal.
I appreciate that. Well,
I'm trying to figure out, because this definitely feels like a captain to captain talk, but this was like the perfect time to use my diplomat skill to reroll once.
Quentin will happily allow Van-Vee to essentially step in if he thinks that he can negotiate, the points. Essentially, there will be a point where Quentin will throw to Van-Vee to handle.
Speak to my accountant.
Yeah,
Speak
exactly.
to my attorney.
I mean, it sounds like
Mr. V over here.
It sounds like the point that you wish to negotiate is the ability for Lita to still be able to get access to relevant psionic information.
That is one of the most important ones, absolutely.
What if the stipulation is Lita gets first right of refusal on certain topics or certain items? After that,
I am open to that, absolutely. Like I said, I am happy to give them first right of refusal on a number of things. It just needs to be the right things. And whenever I think you put it nicely, which is we don't know exactly what their main goal is about what we may or may not find. So I will state my case, where my line is, and they can tell me if that's a bridge too far or not. And we can negotiate from there. Is there anything that y'all don't want to give away?
Y'all shows up, he's just like, no, not really.
I would love to give away him.
The only thing that I would request that you not use in your negotiation is data on myself or my ship. Should I choose to give those up voluntarily of my own accord,
Done.
then I reserve that
No,
right.
that is 100% yours.
There are certain things that I am willing to share, and there are others that belong to who I represent.
Do you think they know about your ship, Minerva, already? Like, how do we include that in being off limits if we don't tell them about it?
They already know.
About the ship?
We've spoken about it here.
Well, all right then. I guess that's true that they're probably listening in this room right now, just like you.
There's nothing malicious about it. I would just assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Van-Vee, any concerns?
How much would is there any like competition or anything between Finana and I guess the
construction?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, your family is a prime creator of goods and constructor of buildings and ship parts, and they need to transit things, and Finana is the one who sells transit ships. They definitely do business, but also, you know, Midapile and Finana are also rivals for power in the sector. I don't know that Van-Vee has the sort of political overview necessary.
Yeah,
I don't know that you've ever described him as having the kind of chops to get at that level, but you know, financially, your parents' company definitely does business with Finana. They have to contract ships from them, sometimes outright buy, but they typically don't like buy ships. They like lease them or just like rent them.
I feel like because he's not as educated in the space as he probably should be. He the only thing he's thinking is, you know, I'm sure there are ties related to, you know, my family's business and Finana. I guess I don't want whatever our agreement to be to impact that agreement. You know, for better or for worse, maybe business as usual. Just because I'm the pilot of this ship doesn't mean it should impact my family and their business.
All right. Well, we can definitely avoid stepping on any toes. If there's room to seek some advantage in that relationship, we certainly will see what we can do. But I guess we have to talk to them and see what their true goal is, I guess.
Van-Vee's tempted to just be like, all right, come in.
Maybe you want to go get her?
Yeah, I'll go get her.
You open the door. There is a different woman outside. She's wearing a pink midi dress and pink combat boots. She's got dark skin, kind of a stern, severe face, coal under her eyes, bald, but she is wearing a headband that's got like two little springs coming off of it that end in hearts. One says B and the other says mine.
My goodness.
She says, my apologies. Our previous negotiator is very aggressive in temperament and may have put off your crew. I have been sent here in order to continue discussions.
She's what you consider aggressive? Wow. Well, all right. Well, pleasure to meet you.
Yes. Shall we continue our conversation?
Let's do that.
Okay. She moves to just sit down in the same seat. Kind of similar body language, honestly.
I feel like
these armatures.
Van-Vee still like thinks it like
sorry,
he knows.
Do you say these armatures?
Oh, maybe.
She looks at you flatly and says, I am human.
Oh,
I am fully born human.
sorry. Yeah, no, just it's been a weird ride. We were just on a planet that was just full of robots and technology like that. So it threw me for a loop. Anyway,
I have
continue.
a special connection to Barry. In many ways, I suppose privately I can admit that I am fairy in the same way that every member of this crew is. But I am human, as is fairy.
I think I understand.
I don't think you do understand, but
I think when the captain made his initial comment, there was a little bit of a turn from Minerva.
What you mean, amateurs? Well, Captain, I guess.
Anyway,
this is fairy again.
Is not what you expect her to be. You may have been misled by news reports that you've seen. I am human.
I mean, it'd have been fine either way. I just was curious if I was speaking to Fairy and Fairy was interested in some sort of, how would I put this? Putting on a show.
There's no show to put on here, Captain. I'm interested in hearing where we stand on our deals.
Where we stand. So, the way I look at it is this, that my goals and your goals may align. And I think that we can definitely help each other. And I want to find the world where that is true. In my case, I represent Lita, at least, minorly, officially, and in my own interest. No,
all public records
yes
seem to indicate that you have left Lita in order to form a new philosophical branch of psionic studies, one more incorporating technology. I don't mean to make any assumptions here, but we went into this negotiation from that angle. Am I wrong?
It is in many ways, correct angle. I do want to further Lita and what it's willing to do and capable of.
We can provide you with those resources, and I don't want to say we want to undermine Lita, but the Leiden Psionic Academy has an extremely narrow and repressive view of what is and isn't psionically acceptable, what is and isn't a good business decision on behalf of the Academy in selling their psionics. And frankly, we've never been entirely comfortable with the contracts we're forced to make with the only people in the sector. We would certainly be more than willing to talk about a more open learning arrangement, a competitive psionic academy or lesson plan is more than acceptable from our corporate perspective. We would be willing to help facilitate that or outright offer it from Phenomena Fleet.
So I was a little floored by that.
Are our goals truly that different, or is it that Leiden's goals are not your goals in the end?
1,000-foot stare.
Yeah, Quentin is a little flat-footed.
You're not the only one who is diplomat, motherfucker.
He is flat-footed and not quite sure how to respond entirely. He stares at her for a minute and says, I don't know how to fully sum this up. My goals and Lita's goals are aligned in general, which is to further psionics, to do so ethically, and to do so with care. I want to see change on Lita. I want to see advancement. I don't know that I want to see a break from it. That is my home. Still in my mind. I think that doesn't mean that I'm not interested. That doesn't mean that we can't move forward by any means. with some form of relationship. But what I want to know is, what is your main goal? What is it that you really want out of this? What technology and data and et cetera are you most interested in? You know, from Lita's perspective, psionics and psionic teaching, psi-tech, technology in those realms, yes, they are wary of it, but it is still very much so our purview.
The reason I was born was to pursue the reunification and betterment of humanity, not only to achieve the technology of the past, but to surpass the lack of morals and morality that led to some of the issues before the screen. I wouldn't say that it's a hard-coded in the way that some AI have a born purpose. But when my parents created me, I accepted their dream as my own. I want to see the betterment of humanity. Banana, as a corporation, will continue acting in the board's interests, which are the same as when they created me, which is that this sector not be the place where they die. This board would like to see, not every sector perhaps, but another sector, many sectors, a reunification of islands of humanity, and perhaps something different than the mandate. A new, humane human government, uniting them. I don't know if that answers the question you were specifically asking, but...
Do you see yourself and Finana as the shepherds and leaders of that change, or cooperative members of it with humanity?
I cannot speak for the board. I am... You see she's looking around. Contacting the board can take a while. It is not something done
Where
lightly.
are they?
They are on board this ship. We can take you to them. It would be a unique experience that will probably change your life.
I've had a few of those.
Not like this.
I don't think you know me.
I mean, MINERVA echoes. No.
For you, Miss Blaze, it would be a very normal experience.
One that I would be honored to take here. It has been some time.
Are you willing to negotiate on behalf of your organic compatriots in speaking with the board? We can get Quentin and Van-Vee in there. It will just take some preparation.
Do you believe, Captain, that you have given me your vision? I would certainly be capable of being your advocate, but it would be dependent on your confidence that I understand your limits.
MINERVA, I don't know that I fully understand my motives right now. They have laid quite the offer at my feet. But
if you're not ready to talk to the board, there's my banana is what I work with, and it is what I work for, but I don't see Finana as a empire to control humanity. It is the vehicle through which our shared dream is accomplished. If that answer suffices you, then that is enough. If not, you will need to speak to the board directly.
If you wish to speak with them, that is not a simple yes or no. That is a very committal answer. It is not going to be an easy task for you to speak with them. It's certainly doable.
I got a dumb question. Is the board not organic? I'm confused why this is such a big deal.
Yeah.
The board comprises of 10 human members who are using a transhumanistic interface device and have been in it for many years. For you, you have needs like sleeping. Your heart is controlled by hormones and signals that you don't fully, or in the case of breathing, really don't have very much control actively over. In a stressful situation, your body will attempt to breathe even if you try not to, for instance. The board no longer has those limitations in the transhuman containment tank. Their minds exist in a fully digital format, and they are my parents, and they created me in there. I am human, but I don't require those things either because I wasn't born with them. I don't need to breathe or eat or have emotions in the way that you do. And when you transcend your bodies, we will need to briefly stimulate some organic functions, heart rate, and neural pathways. It will require some stress-inducing drugs. Your trip there will take but a fraction of a second, but it will be difficult on your bodies. When you're in there, the passage of time will be extremely slow.
Can anything go wrong in this process? I mean, other than just, not being comfortable?
It has been decades since there was an incident. I'm not saying it is impossible, but we have understood the devices before my birth.
Quentin is thinking, is flashing back like to essentially the device, the triggering of the device, the seconds that were minutes to him. The description there is like just a perfect echo of it, and there's part of him that cannot help but want to compare.
This will be much slower.
Yeah.
You'll be thinking at the speed of whatever computer powers the ship, because you'll be a program.
Right.
It will be difficult and it may be very stressful, but I suppose it would give you a small portion of understanding of my being.
Yeah, I want to, let's do this.
Okay.
Push the red button.
I guess we'll go meet my parents then. If you will follow me.
So soon.
So she leads you into the ship. Imagine that the ship is a cone, essentially. It's not exactly that shape, but the center, the core of the cylinder, through layers of computers and facilities, through a second shielding of armor. The bridge and the spike drive and the engines are not as heavily shielded as the transhuman interface room. It's a simple antechamber that has 10 alcoves. It's very 7 of 9 Star Trek Voyager style. You kind of just stand up next to it while weird sciencey stuff goes off. And you can see that the chamber it looks out into is just a huge array of computers. Extremely advanced.
Psionically active that Quentin sees, or
the interface is SciTech for sure.
Do they scan us or anything going in? Like usually we're always trying to hide something, but at this point, I think these guys know everything.
No one has tried to scan you at any point. And based on some of your conversations so far, it sounds like they actually aren't listening in on you.
Interesting.
So the only thing kind of running in the back of Van-Vee's mind is Eno's constant concern of whatever this thing is in my head.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't know.
He has to come in.
He doesn't know if there's like a trigger or something, like we have to induce stress first, right?
That's actually a good point. And MINERVA is invested in the well-being of the both of you. So I think I think MINERVA would just walk right up to Van-Vee and say, "Are you going to join the captain?"
Now I've been wondering.
I feel like Van-Vee must be like sweating right now and pale.
The experience sounded good and all until it said, I have to receive some sort of drugs or something to, kickstart the system, get the blood flowing and do some stress. I'm not sure that's a great idea, MINERVA. Like he's like not gesturing to his head, but his like eyes like go cross-eyed and then back, gesturing to like the middle of his head.
He'll reach out with the armature and put a hand on your shoulder and say, "You won't be left behind alone here, and there is still much wonder to be had. You don't have to have this experience."
So you don't think it's a good idea then?
I think your personal safety is your decision, but I felt it was worth asking to see if you wanted a moment to think.
I think honestly what Van-Vee's thinking at this point is, could he ask Ferry to do a quick scan and make sure he's okay to go in?
You asked her that?
Yeah, I think so. You'd probably just say, Iono just said she thought there was something off with my data last time she checked. I just want to make sure, like, if you're going to induce some sort of stress on me, and I just want to make sure I'd be okay, right? Or I wouldn't cause any damage to those around me. That's all.
Of course. You want us to give you a quick preliminary medical examination?
Sure. Yeah, I guess. I mean, just want to make sure I'm okay. That's all. Because Iono said she doesn't know what it is.
He is concerned about some questions that were asked about his biological condition. He's looking for reassurances that there's nothing that might cause a complication with the interface.
As you've all been talking, she gives you a strange look and says, "I didn't realize you had a link."
Who's she looking at when she says that?
Looking at you, man.
She already scanned him?
Well, he asked for a scan. It happened.
Yeah.
I think Van-Vee's literally gonna be like, "Well, didn't you give MINERVA the password? Of course she has a link."
You don't know.
I mentioned nothing about that or quantums.
Wait, you're saying I have a link? A link to what?
A link. It's an acronym. It's a piece of mandate era biotechnology. Registered to Dr. Y'all Vantis. and is identifying that you are Dr. Yal Vantis, citizen of the Terran Mandate.
You know,
You
I
were
don't.
born in 2548. Is this accurate?
No, my name is not y'all Vantis. As a starting point.
2548.
Also have dust.
I have dust. Is that
Can
a disease?
I
What is
ask
that?
where you've been?
Well, you know, started on shoot, no, I need to actually look at the map again.
Is there a genetic registry for the registration of that equipment?
MINERVA. Your quantum ECM password is rejected. I need to know where you're going.
Uh-oh.
I think I will stay with the armature.
Okay. All of you begin hearing a low tone throughout the ship, and hear a voice saying, "Attention! There has been a quarantine breach aboard this vessel."
Oh, goddamn.
Captain, I have lost access to the ship.
Gwen's looking around. Does it look like other people are starting to react, like things are happening?
The only person you're in the transhuman interface room. This is extremely secure. The door.
I guess it's just the.
It has locked you in with the person speaking to you, and she says, "Please remain calm."
Well, so I started mid-pile, and then I went. Oh, wait, what's going on?
He will look at her and say, "Please know that I can leave at any time. What is going on?"
I need you to consent to a scan, Captain. A medical scan.
A medical scan. I've had one recently.
That was not a yes or no.
I've had one recently. Fine.
You are free to leave, and your ship is also free to go as well.
Can you tell me what dust is?
Mr. Vantis, where were you born?
I actually don't know that answer.
I'm afraid that Fanana Fleet Systems has agreements with several other governments regarding illegal use of dust. The quarantine zone in our transit location, 0602, and its neighboring system, 0501, is specifically to intercept dust users.
But what does that mean?
What is dust?
You keep referring to dust like I'm doing something with it.
I apologize. The board is deliberating on how to resolve this. It's been going on for several years now.
I'm sorry, years? I don't really want to stay in this room for years.
We need to talk to them.
It
The
has
speed
already...
of the interface is much faster than... Since I informed you of that, another decade has passed during their deliberations.
There are reasons why it has been said that you may not understand exactly what you are seeing here.
Can you just at least tell me if dust is dangerous? And
yes.
If so, to who?
It's extremely dangerous. The dust is a method of control created by illegal artificial intelligence. We believe that it was made on the behest of the Terran Mandate in order to pacify its citizens. It is a nanomaterial that infects biological beings and can monitor them.
Is there...
It can also...
Is it active?
Is there a manner in which we could use to protect other organics from receiving this dust?
We're instituting quarantine policies right now.
I understand.
We don't know a lot about the dust. But what we do know is that there was a Maltech event, which I am not able to share the details about, some years ago. And there was a breach about 20 years ago when a suspected dust user escaped into the sector. And we believe several other dusters have also managed to break through the quarantine. There's usually an event every few years. We donate some of our cruisers, a considerable portion of our fleet, in order to stop this because we believe the threat of dust is that high. The dust was used, from what we know, by the Terran Mandate in order to monitor dissidents against it, to influence people. It's a truly horrendous invasion of privacy. I don't know if you are a victim of it or if you have any control over it, if it is controlling you. I realize these events may be alarming, Mr. Vantis, but I need you to remain calm while we figure this out.
I think you probably see on Van-Vee's face, he probably just starts getting like frustrated with the situation, but like a little bit of anger, just like directed at his father for like never telling him any of this. So as soon as she said, "Are you not y'all?" he probably was like, "God, what the F did he do now?" But this is like next level of he never would have thought of this.
I believe if you do remain calm, you may end up with more answers to questions you may yet not have.
I'm trying. Just, God, I wish he was here. I'd like to give him a piece of my mind.
What governments are involved here? What do we...
You mean with the quarantine zone?
Yeah.
Banana Fleet, the Federative Principality, the Technocracy.
That's it.
Thord occasionally coalesces a government long enough. There are several independent captains from Thord who are little more than privateers who donate their services. You say that's it. That's most of humanity is represented here in this sector.
I didn't mean it to be diminutive. I just meant it as in that's the end of the list.
Yes. As you might suspect, the lead in government was in no position to offer ship support and has refused any contracts of psychics.
Indeed. Tend to be a bit conservative. Look, my interest here is in making sure that Van-Vee continues his freedom and ability to make his own autonomous choices in his life here. So what are our next steps? What do we got to do?
I'll be flatly honest with you, Captain. Until we understand what's happening with him, we will have to return him to the quarantine zone. And
that's where we're headed? Is that what you had said previously?
Observed.
I don't know what to do here. This is...
We don't understand what level of threat you pose.
So far, he's been...
Well, for 20 blank years of my life, I've been no threat.
Are you sure about that?
Well, that's the best of my knowledge, yeah.
Unfortunately, given the potential nature of what has been explained up to this point, if all of it remains as accurate, you have no way to truthfully answer that question.
The board is willing to extend you an invitation to speak with you, despite the fact that you may represent a rampant threat to their existence.
I think we gotta talk.
Is there no known interaction between the dust and the interface?
We don't know. There is a lot that we don't know about the dust.
And they are willing to take this considerable risk to speak with him.
They are.
Minerva's going to look to the captain in Van-Vee and say, "This is significant."
Well,
yeah, I think we have
a lot of
them.
questions now.
Do not take this risk lightly.
I don't see a choice.
I have a lot of questions now, and frankly, I want a chance to prove to them I'm not dangerous, not a threat. So, whatever you got to do to make the board comfortable with me, you want to handcuff me or something, that's fine.
We'll just need you to step into the transhuman interface device right here.
Well, I feel like, Van-Vee's a little jacked up, so as soon as she points, he immediately steps in.
Okay. She just begins, attaching a pressure cuff and setting you up for, an IV feed.
Given their organic nature, would it be possible for me to join when their consciousnesses cross for a little familiarity?
You'll also require hooking up to this interface device. I believe that you are currently separate from your core, your quantum core.
I no longer benefit from the exemption of the dampening field. I will need a direct interface.
I apologize. We were taking emergency precautions. Until this is resolved, I'm afraid we can't predict what you might do to help Mr. Vantis, so we're unwilling to extend penetration through the field at this time. But
I am neither offended nor requesting exception. I understand.
I believe this process will work for you as well. I have some data cables right here that will also get you into the interface device.
Captain, Van-Vee, I will be there when you
see you on the other side. And
Quentin will step into a station.
Quentin will tap Van-Vee on the chest a couple times and just say, "We'll find the way out." And go to his kiosk.
Okay. She goes to one as well.
Yeah, they can't be weirder than that Bronwyn guy.
Right?
I'm going to
use less words.
Count backwards from 3. So she starts counting, and then the one is like, whoa, as you guys get a shit ton of drugs flowing through your system. The last scene that we see is the woman you've been talking to is present, looking around. She is speaking to a young woman who's about 3 inches tall and has wings and a circlet, flowing blonde hair, red eyes, a real floofy dress and high heels. Quentin, you appear exactly like yourself. Minerva, you appear as a floating hexagon of white light that looks exactly like the center of your quantum core. You see someone hit the ground that looks like a naked version of Van-Vee who's sobbing and goes, "I'm real! I am real! I'm real! I knew I was real! Oh my God, it's out of my head! It's out of my head!" Van-Vee, you're a floating cloud of dust.
Oh, goddamn.
Am I able to...
Nope, that's the last scene. Okay. That's it,
oh,
right there.
Goddamn. I can't wait. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, sorry about that, Kate. I just wanted to make sure that was the last part for sure.
Okay.
Let's talk about experience points. I can't give any of you anything for breaking a ship or getting closer to the salvaging job.
Oh.
We moved on board a different ship.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
I also don't think you attempted to convince the captain to wait for a response. I don't know that you ever had that conversation.
No, and just I had suspicions that circumstances were going to change in a way that made that no longer what I wanted to do. And that happened. So I'll change my goal for next time. I also made no effort to rebuild my order.
I agree. Van-Vee, you get 1 experience point towards Find Your Mother.
All right. This is a big 1 experience point to find her.
I actually didn't think we would get to this part in this particular episode. I didn't know that you were going to get your dust revealed.
Well, because the medical scan, I was like, it's happening. It's happening.
Well, so I guess, I mean, maybe, again, I feel like I always ask this question. Your answer is you didn't pay to see those cards. But like, I'm curious, like, if didn't do the medical scan and still went into the transhuman thing, I feel like the same outcome would have happened where I would have been like, what?
For sure, right?
And if you had arrived in the quarantine zone, you all would have been scanned and it would have been revealed there as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
So when you reached your destination, something like this would still have happened. Although the fact that you are the dust rather than the body, I think you would not have discovered in the QZ.
No, that's...
Yeah. I am the dust, not the body.
What is it? What does it mean?
I'm willing to offer you an experience point towards Find High-Tech Psionic Academy. Okay. I feel like you made some progress during conversations today, although deals are definitely still on the table here.
Yeah. Quentin has some choices in front of him.
If it wasn't for the way Iono specifically was like scared of Van-Vee, he was like, I can't go into this like super secure room with the most important beings like in the sector and potentially.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting anxiety
first. Yeah. Because in his mind, it would reflect badly on the whole crew, not just him, if he consciously went in without saying something.
Yeah, I love it.
In the end, does it matter if he knowingly said, hey, I have a problem versus accidentally stumbled into it? Probably not, but
I mean, I think your willingness to speak about it, and then, I think some of the things that you said lend some goodwill to this personality, or at least the option to entertain possible goodwill, as opposed to you've just hidden it completely and then shown up and be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Well,
hey, so who's that guy?
Yeah.
Quentin's got to be thinking about Samuel in the quarantine zone, right? Like that is direct reference for him. And the outfit, I guess, that he was wearing.
He was part of the QZ patrol. Yeah.
Yeah.
He, if you'll recall, he said that he killed people that were trying to break quarantine, and he felt bad about it. So bad that he would rather die than live with the shame.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll recall that was episode -1. Just to be clear, this reveal is pre-start of the game.
That's nuts, man.
When Van-Vee was like, I don't know where I came from and I'm trying to get back to it, I was like, dust, 100%. We're doing it. You're nothing but dust in the wind, buddy.
Nice.
I can't wait to like the with your host guy, like with the I'm real. I'm losing it. I can't wait to see what that happens. Like, what is not Van-Vee? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. What is Van-Vee and what is not Van-Vee?
Yeah.
Man. Or is Van-Vee even a thing? Am I really just another y'all?
One's Van, the other's V.
What is it? A guard that you ask questions to?
Oh man.
What are you gonna do about being dust?
Someone in chat saying I'm shook, and I'm glad because I wanted that to be a very shaking scene. It's also why I cut the episode off right at the end there.
It was well played.
Good timing.
I want people to be freaking out on this cliffhanger until next week.
Boy,
hey,
boy.
this is how you know the horror arc's over, because now we're in the dramatic arc.
Is this not a horror arc? Is this not like I have no mouth and I must scream?
Part of the horror arc. Cotton and Pondo will confirm this. The Prince Valdrenor, that ship, Prince Vandorn ship, if you had gotten on it and taken that cruise, it was a battle royale style Among Us situation where they lured people on board to kill each other for prizes in a sort of Squid Games Among Us game, that there would be a shape-shifting betrayer on board and like a weird alien creature killing people, and like they're super rich people in a safe part of the ship that were like, amazing. Oh, I like this guy, Hunger Games him real quick, send him food. You skipped that whole arc, so you'll hear the consequences of what happens on that ship later, but I didn't manage to get you on board. So, you know, the horror arc was, oh, there's a thing that maybe is a black hole. It's called a tether, and this is coming down, and my brain, I have cancer, and bad things keep happening to me. That, I think, was part of the horror arc, but that was a setup for the real horror arc. But we skipped that. Instead, we have Van and we have V now. Just which one's which again? Let me know which one are we calling Van and which one are we calling V?
It's also going to be really interesting seeing what Minerva decides about all this too.
Yeah,
because Minerva is also very protect humanity.
Yeah. Does Minerva know what dust is? Is that something she's ever heard of?
Minerva doesn't know what dust is. She's also never heard of a link.
Okay.
I am very glad we did not offer up that gutter the map.
Oh.
Because it would have been like, hey, here's a map that leads into the dust area. Oh, by the way, I have dust in my head. Can you imagine?
I'm totally not an infiltrator trying to destroy the galaxy by possessing how to
We're not going to smuggle more of us.
We just found a secret path that you haven't checked in a while.
Oh my God. AP. There's just so many things, so many little threads here. I don't know what to do. I want to tug on them all.
Hey, McClay 8. We'll get to that salvage shop one day.
Oh my God. If we had to describe this whole show in one word, I've got to pick
comment, and subscribe.
It's so dense.
I agree, it's dense. I can't say enough good things about the show. It moves so fast. It's absolutely crazy. It feels like something's happening all the time. People have real conversations with each other where you're not like, hey, what should we pick up while we're shopping? And then like 20 seconds of silence. You're like, wow, we have some real authority and power over whether this Psionic Academy can spread or not. Like, what do we do when we negotiate with these people? And Van-Vee's like, I think they're listening to everything. And I'm like, so that's so Van-Vee.
Or is it Van? Or is it V?
Yeah, true.
I was also kind of wondering before
fan art.
I was sort of wondering before we had other things to think about whether or not the changing of people was going to color how Van-Vee deals with armatures.
Yeah.
I think the biggest.
I think he's got bigger things to be worried about now.
to better understand that, it is like the description of what this person told us about how they were born or created. Like, are they an actual biological human or are they an AI?
You gotta stab them. We learned that. You gotta stab them.
Definitely at least the next episode, if not much farther along.
For sure.
What you do know is that sentient entities appear in the form which they are comfortable with here, and that rather than being one guide, you have the person who stepped into that tube and a tiny little fairy as two separate entities.
Interesting.
That is what I will say.
That was the only thing that I was trying to bring up at the end was the appearance thing. Because Minerva's mind eye was not a cube.
Oh, I thought that quantum ECMs are shaped like a hexagon. It's like a little white hexagon chip inside of a framework. But yeah, here's the thing. You can change what you look like once you get in here.
Yeah.
The power of thought.
You guys can see
arrived looking like a quantum core.
But then you guys will be able to see how Minerva sees itself in its mind's eye.
That sounds like you shouldn't spoil me so that I can be excited next week.
Okay.
For a reveal. It may be wise for you to think about goals now. There could be some real shit happening next episode. And I want to say, Quentin, you believe that your psionic powers still work here insofar as you are able to influence the transhuman interface. It acts as a program, essentially. Your powers allow you to act as you normally would inside the interface. So you can teleport around and stuff while you're in here.
Good. Oh, all of them.
All of them work, yes. How the interface works. All of them. Now, just to be clear, you can't, like, teleport out of the interface. You'll still have to be unhooked.
Right.
Yes, while you're in the Matrix, you can mimic your abilities.
Correct.
You can make your weapons. That won't set off any alarms.
Oh, yeah, that.
That's not what I'm thinking about. But...
If that happened, Minerva would also be upset.
You remember that weird cloud of dust showed up and I described it exactly where Van-Vee's head was?
I do. I do.
Well, remember when you thought it was Iono Kanto that was the weird one?
Oh, yeah. That's totally what I thought it was.
And it was everybody else.
Yeah, all humans clearly have dust. She's weird.
It's that her body and Van-Vee's body are not MES active.
Mm-hmm. But something in Van-Vee was.
I think.
Look, I'm tooting my own horn and showing how brilliant that scene was.
You're killing it, man. It's so good. You should. This is a lot of stuff to just like pop
even
around.
Even as you said,
it all hooked together. It's so good.
You're like, well, remember, I've been saying for a while, you look like your dad. Your dad looks like you. Yeah. Your brother looks like you.
Oh. Very much so. Cloning is dust related to cloning.
Asking when your birthday was, I am still 100% on my original theory of cloning Maltech cult.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I think on one of the first thoughts that Van-Vee had, but he's too dumbfounded to speak in the moment when he's getting questioned, is, well, if you think I'm y'all, and I think the y'all I think of is my dad, is that really y'all, or who's really y'all? Who's the first y'all?
Are you all y'all?
Yeah. Am I just a clone of a clone? Do I even have my own thoughts?
I mean, Minerva's got to decide whether or not you're like a ghoul equivalent, basically, like
right.
Because at that point, Minerva's going to have problems
like
with you.
The Imago Dei aspect, like is Van-Vee an enemy of humanity in some way?
Yeah, that's what Minerva has to
really going to
decide.
invade your privacy.
I'm trying to figure out what books it's in, but I don't know that I would be against the players looking at this, but if the audience wanted to know more, you could take a look at the book Other Dust, which talks briefly about how bad the dust can be when misused.
You won't like the dust when it's angry.
I'm trying to remember what book has the mandate link in it. I don't think it's Stellar Heroes. Sorry, I wasn't really ready for this. I didn't know that you were gonna step to getting a medical scan. Oh,
I
Mandate
love how
Archive,
this is you not ready,
Dust.
but still, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Mandate Archive the Dust is free if you wanted to check it out. I just don't remember which book has the stuff about Link, but you might also remember I said something about illegal AI and monitoring. That is all more splat books, more Stars Without Number stuff. Just a huge shout out to Kevin Crawford, aka Cardinal Jimenez. Doesn't watch the show, but support his works. He's laid out this incredible sci-fi framework. We're also using part of Codex of the Black Sun. If you wanted to take a look at that, to some extent, not the players. The players definitely should not look at Codex of the Black Sun.
Yeah, I'm not reading any splat books.
very well.
Yeah.
You've already read Imago Dei like 5 times, front to back.
Okay, well, but that's relevant to the character, and that was recommended.
Sure.
But
I wanted to make sure that if and just to be clear, I might not stick to the exact parts of it, but if the audience is curious, this is all standard Stars Without Numbers stuff that has been lost and isn't known. But you, the audience, can know more than the players if you get involved. There's a ton of free Stars Without Numbers extra content out there. Who are the insane AIs that design the dust? That's the big setting question. Did you notice wild.
The specific wording I used when I asked about Fairy's intentions?
Yeah,
with humanity.
You notice she didn't really say much about her intentions, but the board and the companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deflect. You answered just like you were a Kain question.
Is she human or is she an artificial intelligence? It's such a great question. I can't wait until next week.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so much here. It's nuts.
I think, honestly, the first few thoughts I had, if the scene continued, I was going to be something like just as a joke, like, hey, who's that screaming guy? Wait, what am I? Can I move like this?
You can move as a cloud, yes.
Like, oh my God.
Amazing. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up this truly insane episode?
After a series of them, like I legit am never prepared for these things. There's something fantastical.
I feel like I'm setting way too high of a bar for myself, because at some point we're going to have an episode that's just going, all right, so you've cleared out all of the furniture. Let's make a roll to begin taking the hull plates off.
I don't want it to be.
I can't wait for that.
My inner cooperative nature doesn't want it to be like this, but I feel like my short-term goal might be to decide whether or not to try to destroy the dust to protect humanity.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Didn't you know there's good dust and bad dust?
You don't even know that.
I mean,
Minerva needs to try to learn more, but
yeah, Minerva just had
threats to the
demons
galaxy
knocking at her internal door and asking Quentin questions of were they angels or demons? Like, no, here's Van-Vee, literally.
If Kain kills my character, I'm coming back as Slicer.
Hey, bros, what's up? It's me, Slicer.
I almost said if he kills my character again, but last time it wasn't technically my character. It was, just my intern.
How do you know? How do you know I just won't have another Van-Vee show up for you to play?
That's true, y'all. I know that's God, so good.
There's an infinite supply.
I feel like I've made this reference already on the show, but like the movie Beer Fest, when the brother dies, the other brother shows up. He goes, "Just call me the same."
You
name.
did. You made that very early.
Yeah,
you did reference that very early.
God, maybe I did have a hint of this.
Like, oh my God, hidden foreshadowing. I love it.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Didn't make any progress in that poem, huh?
Not one bit.
No.
We know.
I did intend to have a conversation with Jun Koto, but it just didn't seem to flow with where we were going, so I let it pass.
I like how you walked him out. You still didn't ask him any questions.
I mean, like, it just felt like it would have wasted some time.
On.
We have so much to do with the episode.
You're getting Dunamis. I know what this is like. I've seen it.
All right, here's my list of 30 things. I wrote them on down. Okay, now that the session started, let me ignore my notes.
I've got 10 minutes left of the episode. Oh shit, there's something on my desk. Oh,
we can flashback.
Can we maybe do one of these real quick, maybe?
Oh wait, did I dedicate my
at some
victory?
point? I want to know what folks like ship schedules are, like what people are doing, like on average during transit or.
Yeah, I do wonder. Like, I think AP, you've said a fair chunk of your audience listens while like driving. I wonder how this goes with that, because I feel like if you miss anything, you're just like, what the hell?
this is probably kind of episode where you might have to have gone back and gone, why does everyone sound really excited all of a sudden?
Who died?
I missed something, and it seems like it was important.
Yeah, legit. Did we make a roll?
You made one roll the whole episode.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I'm reasonably certain that I failed it.
That's how you know it's good RP.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean there was anything to notice, but if there was, I wouldn't have noticed it.
Favorite running thread has been all of your insistence that Iono has known that you were an AI the whole time, and then you were like, don't you? And she was like, oh, Patra cybernetic implant. I thought you might have one. You were like, I'm an AI. I mean, sorry, but yes, my cybernetic implant. Yes.
Yeah, about that. Part shame. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Is she transmitting my data to the ship? The whole time she's just like, Mom, time to go home. You're like, is she secretly observing all of us? She's just like, man, I don't know where I'm going next.
It's going to be really funny if she does come back on the ship and she's like, well, hi.
Yeah, I mean, does Minerva just straight up tell her at that point, given that like her boss?
I was thinking that too. Would you just tell her if she comes back on?
I had already committed to, if the captain convinced her from some way or another to stay on the ship, that I was probably going to have to tell her. It'd be so much of a nuisance to have another long-term crew member and step around it.
I was picturing when you said the ECM field came back up and Minerva was shut off, that somewhere on the ship, Louis just like sat up and was like, I sense a disturbance.
And I did deliberately do that on the bridge to have a way to try to start a conversation to try to get a feel for what she may or may not suspect or did or didn't know.
Mm-hmm. She's a cog in the machine. That's what we know right now.
You thought she was a secret, observant agent. Instead, she's a doctor.
Instead, she's
they basically already knew, just so we're clear. They were basically just like, look, you had a lot of financial irregularities. Like, things adding up here, you stumbled on something big, and judging by the data, it's this.
I don't think, like, at no point did I think she was like an infiltrator or a spy or anything. I just had this thought in my mind that she was going to accidentally find out and we were going to have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was smart enough to figure it out. So
yeah,
it was just whether or not she did.
She doesn't know that you're an AI, just to be clear.
Yeah.
She thinks that you're a human with a cybernetic implant because it's normal where she comes from.
Yeah. But if she ends up coming back on the ship, I think Minerva's probably going to tell her.
Boy, you are so many steps from that.
Yeah.
That's at least 7 episodes away.
Somewhere out there in a frozen glacier, a ship is still awaiting to be broken.
I tried.
Instead of a tear, it's just a single piece of melting ice along the side of it.
We really did. It was like, oh man, they're going to jump us really close. That sounds really great for the contract.
Yeah. If he asked for a medical scan. Imagine if he hadn't asked for a medical scan and he showed up.
It would have been so much worse. It would have been so much worse.
You almost convinced him not to go. That's the thing. It could have been side.
I tried to give him the option because I didn't want to violate his privacy and just be like, hey guys, you should scan him first in case he breaks some shit. I wanted to give him the option to bounce without him having to be the one to start it out loud. Give him the ability to be like, yeah, maybe not.
If we had jumped ourselves to 0501, would the same alarms had gone off?
The QZ patrol would have checked everyone passing through.
Oh, so God, this was like the only way we could have been like somewhat.
0501 or 0502? Is 0501 in the same quarantine?
The quarantine are the two. So
okay, so both of them would have been
right.
Hold
so
on.
Like even if we just ignored Ferry and went on our own,
it's the two systems that are adjacent to that black hole.
Yeah.
Because the black
it's
hole
both of them.
leads to the 2 forbidden planets.
Oh god, imagine how confusing that would have been. Like if we didn't go to the fair, we were like, screw you, fair, and we went on our own just to go like take the ship apart, and we arrive and the same shit happens. Oh my god.
I'm also trying to imagine like that same
AP set a trap.
mid spike scenario where shenanigans are going on, and it's just somebody pops out and goes, "Ooh, well, that's a problem," kills you, and then we go back to normal space, and you're just suddenly dead. Like,
I know you might be joking, but I want to argue that I set a trap because I didn't choose that job for you. The audience made it more financially lucrative for you.
I was actually just thinking of that. It was positioned directly on a planet where
we didn't have to do it at all. Yeah. We did turn down a job.
We could have done more bad guy stuff.
The universe we were good at that. Has plates spinning, and you are arriving at the spinning plates with your own baggage. Your own dust.
This man.
I hope you're ready next week to plead for your existence.
Oh my god. Legit.
I can't think of being in a more feeble position than literally being dust, being yelled at by transhuman AIs.
And the guy who you've been inhabiting.
Right.
Who's probably pretty pissed that you've been there.
Oh my!
I can't wait.
Can you just imagine the episode start? This guy that's naked on the floor goes up and just punches the dust. Game over. And there's his revenge.
I'm so smug right now. I just want to. I fucking love this show so much. At the pinnacle of smugness. I've been waiting a long time for us to get here. It has been a very slow ride. And the best part is the fact that you are the dust, not the person. This is the only way you could have found out about that for a long time. You have successfully navigated that path. This is like when you do one of those like Being Human games or Detroit Chicago or whatever. And it's like only 4% of players took this path. You're on one of those lines with a big gold star next to it. You had to do some really specific stuff to get here.
Yeah.
I'll take that Steam achievement.
I feel proud.
Play the game to unlock this achievement. Oh man, I can't even see what he got.
Okay, we have to wrap this up. We're almost an extra hour into this bad boy.
No more intros, only outros.
Yeah, I do like how we're like we can only do 2 hours. All of our schedules don't allow it. Then we always stay for like 40 minutes after.
I don't always, but this felt like an important one to stay after.
It did, yeah.
I'm basking in my glory. I want YouTube comments. I feel like I earned it this time, guys. I feel like I earned this one. Give me that comment. These guys 100%. Earned a comment too. It was a fucking crazy episode.
Just shout it out.
I just kept thinking the whole time, I was like, I'm waiting for an opportunity for me and Ferry to just talk on the DL while the crew's doing whatever, and we've got so much other shit to do.
Yeah, you know, one of those non-important conversations happen in this show. That never happened.
With split processing, can MINERVA be 2 people in this space?
I can't. It allows me to inhabit multiple places, not the same place multiple times.
But how does it work in transhuman space? I guess you'll find out how the interface device works next time.
Dun, dun, dun.
Any announcements we need to make? All right, well... Audience, we'll see you next week. Players, I'll see you next week. We're gonna have some weird stuff. It's gonna be even more weird.